Hello, I'm Daniel, and welcome to the Emunah project. In previous videos, with respect to the prohibition against idolatry, we made reference to actually a series of 4 commandments, 2 involving the prohibition against something called consulting an Av, or doing the practices of an Av, and the other one with respect to consulting a Yid'oni and practicing, doing the practices of Yid'oni. No one really does this anymore. But it's not merely a religious and historical curiosity. There are things we can learn about the Av and the Yid'oni with respect to our commandments prohibiting us from being involved in idolatry. The Talmud in Masechta Sanhedrin refers to Yid'oni as idolatry. Others refer to it as in a general category of superstitious behavior, like believing in omens and that sort of thing. But either way, it's forbidden. So, Av and Yid'oni. In the Tanakh, we have in the first book of Samuel the story of how King Saul, who has fallen out of favor with God doesn't talk to him anymore, he feels disconnected, and what he does is he asks his people to find someone, a woman who's good at contacting the spirits of the dead. He wants to contact the spirit of Samuel, Shmuel Hanavi. So they find him a woman who is miscalled the witch of Endor. She's not a witch. She's not a mechashefa, which is a sorceress. She's referred to as an Ashes Baalas of, a woman who is a master of the spirits, the connecting with the spirits. So it's a little unclear exactly what the details are, but the general outline is this: the Baalas of, or the Baalov, who are male or female, would burn incense and go into certain movements, sometimes involving a branch of some sort, and eventually work themselves into a trance, into a semi-conscious state. And then the voice of the spirit of the dead, the person whom she's trying to contact, will come. Some say it comes from the earth. The Talmud in Masechta Sanhedrin says the voices would come from the earth. Others say it comes from the body. The Talmud, again in Masechta Sanhedrin, says from the joints. Other people say, no, it comes from the torso, the armpit. At any rate, the voice emanates from either the Baalas of, or the Baal of, or the ground underneath their feet. The person hiring the Baalas of would inquire from the dead, and they would get their answer. Now, what happens, of course, is King Saul goes to the Ashes Baalas of Endor and wants to hire her to contact the prophet Samuel. And she says, rightly so, hang on there, I can't do this. There's a death penalty for people who do this kind of thing. He says, no, I promise you won't suffer any consequences. Anyways, she does it, and not only does the voice come, but apparently, according to the passage in the first book of Samuel, chapter 29, I believe, she actually sees the prophet Samuel, and Samuel rebukes Saul. It says, you're finished, you're over, God's done with you, David's going to take over as king, and so that's the Av. Of the Av and the Yid'oni, that's the Av. Someone who goes into a trance, with incense, and may or may not have branches, works himself, and there are certain movements, a certain set pattern of movements, and eventually the voice of the Spirit comes. Strictly forbidden. Anyone who does this or anything similar to this, even though there's now may not be any direct, descendants of the Baalei Ov, stay away from it. It's not for us. What non-Noahide Gentiles do, that's their own problem. Again, there are sages who say that this is idolatry. Okay, that's Ov. The Yid'oni. Another thing about the Yid'oni. Okay, now, usually Ov and Yid'oni are put together because they're similar. With the Yid'oni, similarly, you have a person going into a trance, but with the Yid'oni, he gets his name from, he uses the bone of an animal, I think it's a bird, called a Yedua. And he places this bone from the bird in his mouth, or in her mouth. Again, goes into some sort of trance, in some semi-conscious state, lies down, and the voice appears to come from the bone itself in the mouth. Again, people contacting the spirits of the dead, wanting to find out this, wanting to find out that. Very strictly forbidden. So any kind of medium who is anyway similar to an Ov or a Yid'oni, we're to stay away. These are Jews and also Noahides. There are sages which say that the Av and the Yid'oni are not merely practices. So there are sages who say that this is mamish, literally idolatry. So as such, we have to stay away. We're going to be doing another video with respect to forbidden practices of idolatry. I think I'm going to do at least one video on the subject of witchcraft, because it's something that has become popular over the last couple of decades. So until then, on behalf of the Emunah Project, I'm Daniel, and thank you too much.